There's a moment in everyone's life where you stop and think, is this it? Not out of peace, but out of frustration. You're looking at the life you're living and quietly realizing it's not even close to the one you imagined. You're tired. Not just physically, your soul is tired, tired of shrinking, tired of playing nice, tired of settling for the version of yourself that other people can tolerate. But you smile through it. You laugh it off. You keep busy. You tell yourself maybe someday. And yet deep down, there's this voice that won't shut up. A whisper that keeps asking, what if you stopped lying to yourself? What if you stopped pretending that average is enough for you? What if you actually gave yourself permission to go all in? Not for them, not for appearances, but for you. Because here's the truth. The life you're living right now, it's not the result of fate. It's the result of what you've tolerated, what you've allowed, what you've delayed. And the longer you stay in denial, the longer you stay stuck. Nobody else is going to pull you out. No one's coming with a golden ticket. The rescue isn't coming. You are your own rescue. You want to know how I transformed my life? It wasn't by waiting for the right time. It wasn't by hoping someone would notice my potential. It happened the moment I got so uncomfortable with my own BS that I couldn't stand another second of being who I used to be. I wasn't always disciplined. I wasn't always this focused. I used to be chaotic, confused, scattered, saying yes to everyone but myself, pleasing, pretending, procrastinating. And then one day, quietly, not dramatically, I decided this ends now. Not next year, not after the pain passed, now. That decision didn't make things easier, it made things real, and real is what builds power. You're here watching this because something inside you knows you're meant for more. You're not here to be inspired, you're here to be reminded of who you were before the world got to you, of what's still inside you waiting to be unleashed. I'm not going to sell you a dream. I'm going to show you what it takes to build one. With discipline, with boundaries, with a version of you that doesn't flinch when it's time to go all in. Don't just watch this to feel motivated. Watch it to remember who you are, because once you do, there's no going back. I got tired of my own excuses. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, in the middle of moments where no one else was around. It wasn't a breakdown. It wasn't a dramatic movie scene. It was the kind of shift that happens when you get sick of hearing your own voice explain why things aren't working. Again, you see, there comes a time when your excuses start sounding like lies, even to you. I'm just tired. I'm too busy. I'll start next week. I'm waiting for the right time. They roll off your tongue so easily that you start to believe them. Until one day, they hit different. One day, you say those same words, and instead of comfort, you feel shame. Instead of relief, you feel anger. And that's the moment it starts. That's when you begin to realize, I've been the one holding myself back this whole time. For years, I talked about changing my life. I talked about starting new habits, setting boundaries, chasing big goals, becoming someone I could be proud of. I had the vision, I had the words, but I didn't have the action. I was showing up halfway and then blaming life for the results I wasn't getting. That's the dangerous thing about excuses. They trick you into thinking the problem is out there when really it's in the mirror. I blamed circumstances. I blamed timing. I even blamed other people, but the truth was brutal. My life didn't change because I didn't change. I kept showing up as the same version of myself and expecting everything around me to improve. It doesn't work that way. You don't get to keep living at 50% and expect 100% results. There's a difference between wanting and deciding. Wanting is passive. Wanting is easy. Anyone can want. But deciding, that's where the shift happens. That's where transformation begins. Because deciding means you're ready to stop negotiating with your own weakness. You stop coddling your comfort. You stop waiting for inspiration and start building discipline. The truth is, most of us know exactly what we need to do. The problem isn't lack of information. It's lack of ownership. It's easier to talk about your potential than to live it. Because living it means sacrifice. It means discomfort. It means breaking patterns that have kept you emotionally safe, but mentally trapped. I got tired of hearing myself say, this year will be different, and then doing nothing to back it up. I got tired of starting strong and finishing nowhere. I got tired of talking about boundaries, but not enforcing any. I got tired of shrinking to fit into people's comfort zones. I got tired of pretending I was okay with a life I didn't even recognize anymore. So I did the only thing that works when you're done lying to yourself. I got radically honest. I stripped away the excuses, and it was ugly. I had to face the fact that I was inconsistent, that I was scared of failure, that I was addicted to comfort, and worst of all, I had the nerve to call it self-love. Let me tell you something real. Self-love is not letting yourself off the hook. Self-love is calling yourself out. It's saying, I deserve more, and then doing the work to prove it. When I stopped giving myself outs, I started building myself up, not with flashy routines or social media quotes, but with small, gritty, daily choices. I started waking up earlier. I started keeping promises I made to myself. I started setting boundaries and sticking to them, even when it made people uncomfortable, especially then. Excuses are easy. Discipline is war, and I was at war with who I used to be. You want to transform your life? Start by cutting the lies you keep feeding yourself. Start by showing up when it's inconvenient. Start by realizing that no one is going to push you harder than you're willing to push yourself. That voice in your head, the one that says maybe later, it's killing you. Not physically, not instantly, but slowly, quietly. It's robbing you of your potential one excuse at a time. I had to bury that voice. I had to create a new one that says get up, keep going, do it now, no more waiting. I didn't transform my life because I found the perfect plan. I transformed my life because I got tired of tolerating my own mediocrity. I stopped chasing motivation and started building consistency. I stopped fantasizing and started executing. So if you're tired right now, good. That's where change starts. Let that exhaustion fuel you. Let that frustration burn away your excuses. Because at the end of the day, no one is going to live your dream for you. No one is going to hand you your potential. You either fight for it or you stay stuck in the loop. I chose to fight every day. And that's how I started becoming someone I could finally believe in. Motivation is a beautiful thing until it disappears. And if you've ever tried to change your life relying on motivation alone, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Motivation is the spark, but it's not the engine. It's loud in the beginning, full of hype and energy. You wake up early, you make plans, you feel unstoppable, but give it a few days, maybe a few weeks, and suddenly it's quiet. Suddenly it's cold outside. You're tired, life gets messy, and that inner fire gone. That's when you realize if you don't have discipline, you have nothing. I learned that the hard way. I used to wait to feel ready. I thought change would come when I was inspired enough, hyped enough, excited enough. But life doesn't give you perfect moments. It gives you resistance. And every time I waited for the perfect moment to start, I stayed stuck exactly where I was. The truth, my future didn't care how I felt. My goals didn't care if I was tired. The life I wanted wasn't coming to find me. I had to build it brick by brick. Bored, unmotivated, exhausted, I had to keep going anyway. Discipline became the bridge between who I was and who I wanted to be. It didn't feel glamorous. It felt mechanical, repetitive, like no one was watching because no one was watching, and that's the test. Can you keep showing up when no one claps, when no one sees it, when there's no payoff in sight? If you can, you're dangerous, because most people quit when the feeling fades. They only operate when they're in the mood. But discipline doesn't wait for mood. Discipline says, we do this anyway. I stopped asking myself how I felt about doing the work. I stopped negotiating with laziness. If it was on my plan, it got done, whether I was excited or not. That shift changed everything. I stopped needing to feel good to take action. I started feeling good because I took action. That's the twist most people miss. Discipline gives you confidence, because every time you follow through, you build trust with yourself. And when you trust yourself, you stop looking for outside validation. You don't need people to clap. You've got your own back. And let's be honest, motivation is a trap. It convinces you to wait. I'll start when I feel better. I'll work on my goals when I'm less overwhelmed. But discipline cuts through all of that. It's not emotional. It's a decision, a standard. You set the tone and you stick to it, whether it's raining, whether you're tired, whether it hurts, because you're not chasing comfort. You're chasing growth. And growth doesn't happen in the mood. It happens in the repetition. There were days I didn't want to wake up early, days I didn't want to train, didn't want to journal, didn't want to work, didn't want to show up, but I did. Not because I'm a machine, not because I enjoy struggle, but because I decided this is who I am now. And every time I honored that commitment, I became someone new, stronger, sharper, more resilient, not perfect, just undeniable. I didn't build my dream life on motivation. I built it on structure, on systems, on waking up and doing the same hard things over and over until they became a part of me. I stopped waiting for emotion and started relying on execution. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. And if your standard is only when I feel like it, you're already defeated. You want to transform your life, build discipline, start with small, non-negotiable actions. Wake up at the time you said you would. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Do what needs to be done, especially when it's inconvenient. That's when it counts. That's when you build the kind of self-respect that can't be bought, faked, or given. It's earned. And once you earn it, no one can take it from you. Discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect. It's the quiet voice that says, I deserve more, followed by the action that proves it. You don't need to be the most talented, the most gifted, or the most connected. But if you're the one who doesn't quit, if you're the one who keeps showing up long after everyone else has gotten bored, you win, period. So, no, I didn't have motivation every day. I didn't wake up full of fire and purpose all the time, but I woke up with intention, with clarity, and with discipline. That's how I transformed my life. Not by chasing hype, but by becoming the kind of person who keeps showing up, day in, day out, no matter what. Saying no used to feel like a betrayal of others, of expectations, of the image people had of me as the one who always came through, the reliable one, the helpful one, the person who showed up even when it meant disappearing on herself. But over time, I realized something hard. Every time I said yes, when I wanted to say no, I was betraying myself. I wasn't just being polite, I was abandoning my boundaries. I was handing over my time, energy, and peace to people who had no intention of protecting it. I was exhausted, resentful, and silently drowning in a life filled with obligations that didn't align with my goals, values, or truth. And no one saw it, because I smiled, because I made it look easy, because I kept saying, it's fine, when really it wasn't. The truth? Most people who keep saying yes aren't kind. They're afraid of conflict, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of disappointing people who have no problem disappointing them. That was me, until I realized my life will never be mine if I keep living it for other people. So I started saying no. At first it felt unnatural. I'd second-guess myself, rehearse explanations, apologize endlessly. I'd feel that guilt creeping in. What if they get mad? What if they think I've changed? What if I hurt their feelings? But then I asked myself something that changed everything. What about my feelings? What about the goals I keep putting off? The rest I keep denying myself? The peace I keep sacrificing to keep people comfortable? That was the moment I chose myself. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that finally honored the truth of who I was and what I needed. Saying no is a skill. And like any skill, it gets stronger with practice. I started small, declining invitations I didn't want to attend, passing on projects that drained me, setting clearer limits with people who expected access to me at all hours. It wasn't easy. People noticed. Some pulled away, some got offended, but what I discovered was powerful. The right people respect boundaries. The wrong ones get angry when you stop letting them use you. That's not a loss. That's clarity. And the more I said no, the more space I created. Space to focus, space to breathe, space to rebuild my life around what actually mattered to me. I wasn't constantly rushing anymore. I wasn't overwhelmed or running on fumes. I could finally hear my own thoughts again. I had the energy to pursue the things that truly aligned with my purpose. I started becoming intentional with my time, not just reactive. You see, every no to something misaligned is a yes to something powerful, a yes to your growth, your healing, your goals, your vision. People will test your boundaries. They'll push back. Some won't understand. And that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. And sometimes that truth requires making people uncomfortable. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them be surprised. Let them talk. What matters is that you know what you stand for and that you're no longer available for anything that violates that. The guilt, it fades. You get used to it, and eventually it turns into something else. Freedom. Freedom from people pleasing, from fake obligations, from the endless cycle of overextending and under-receiving. You don't owe everyone an explanation. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify your boundaries to people who've benefited from you not having any. There's strength in restraint. There's power in protecting your peace. You don't need to be aggressive. You just need to be clear and consistent. I stopped answering messages instantly. I stopped showing up for people who never showed up for me. I stopped giving emotional labor to situations that left me drained. I started asking, does this serve me? Does this honor my path? Or is this another distraction in disguise? Most importantly, I stopped feeling guilty for choosing me. Because here's what no one tells you. Every time you say yes to what drains you, you delay the life that's meant for you. I wasn't put on this earth to keep everyone comfortable. Neither were you. You are meant to live on purpose, with direction, with clarity. That kind of life requires boundaries. It requires courage. It requires the ability to say no cleanly, calmly, and without guilt. If they leave because of your no, let them. You're not losing them. You're losing the version of yourself that kept betraying her own needs to keep them happy. And that's not a loss. That's liberation. So say it clearly, say it with love, say it without the need to soften it. No, I can't make it. No, I'm not available. No, this doesn't work for me. And then watch what happens, not just in your relationships, but in your energy, your focus, your entire life. Saying no was the moment I stopped being a supporting character in my own story and finally became the lead. I used to think change was about waking up earlier, working harder, reading more, hustling longer. And while all those things helped, none of them stuck until I changed who I believed I was. Because here's the truth, you will never outperform the identity you're attached to. If you believe you're lazy, you'll always find a way to prove yourself right. If you believe you're not good enough, you'll sabotage every opportunity that says otherwise. That's how powerful identity is. It becomes your ceiling or your wings. So I stopped focusing on just doing more, and I started focusing on becoming more. I had to get honest with myself, brutally honest. I had to look at who I had become. Not the filtered version, not the story I told others, but the raw, unedited version. The person who made excuses, who procrastinated, who stayed in comfort zones too long, who craved approval more than progress. And it hurt, but the truth always does before it sets you free. See, transformation doesn't start with routines, it starts with identity. And identity isn't found, it's built. So I asked myself, who do I want to become? Not what job I want or what I want my life to look like on the outside. I went deeper. Who is the version of me that doesn't fold under pressure? Who is the one who keeps promises to herself? Who is the one that leads with discipline, confidence, and integrity? Once I got clear on that vision, I stopped acting from who I had been and started acting from who I was becoming. When you see yourself as a victim, you'll always wait for someone to save you. But when you see yourself as a leader, a fighter, a builder, you take responsibility for every inch of your life. That's what I did. Every morning I stopped asking, what do I have to do today? And started asking, what would the future version of me do right now? She wouldn't snooze the alarm. She wouldn't spiral in doubt. She wouldn't waste time arguing for her limitations. So neither did I. And with every decision, I reinforced this new identity. Small wins stacked up. New habits formed. Confidence grew, not from motivational quotes, but from evidence, proof that I was becoming the person I said I would be. People noticed. But I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for the little girl inside me who had dreams too big for the world she was raised in. For the future me, who deserved a life built on purpose, not fear. And for the present me, who was finally done living on autopilot. But here's the catch. When you rewire your identity, the old version of you doesn't go quietly. She'll whisper doubts, try to drag you back to comfort. She'll remind you of your failures, your rejections, your past. That's her job, to protect the familiar. Your job is to outgrow her, not with hate, but with compassion. She got you this far, but she's not who you are anymore. And the people around you? Some will support the shift, others won't. Not because they're bad, but because your evolution challenges their comfort. Let them be uncomfortable. You're not responsible for managing their reactions to your growth. You're responsible for protecting the identity you're building every single day. You have to start seeing your future self as real, not a fantasy, not a wish. Real, tangible, deserving, already within you. Because here's what no one tells you. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled with luck or talent. It's filled with identity shifts. You want to be disciplined. Start telling yourself you are disciplined even when you don't feel like it. You want to be confident. Start speaking, dressing, and showing up like someone who already believes she belongs. You want to be unstoppable. Stop identifying with your wounds and start identifying with your power. This isn't fake until you make it. This is decided until you become it. And yes, it takes time. But every single day, you get to cast a vote for the identity you want. And eventually, the evidence stacks in your favor. You don't need to wait for a breakdown to have a breakthrough. You can choose to evolve because you want better, not because life forced your hand. You can decide today that the version of you who self-sabotaged, played small, stayed quiet, tolerated disrespect, that version is done. Retired, thanked for her service, and now it's your turn to lead. Because you don't become your dream life by wishing for it. You become it by becoming someone who's ready to hold it, to earn it, to live it. That starts with your identity. Every change flows from there. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your mistakes. You are who you decide to become. And that decision starts now. I used to think the dream life was something far away, a place I'd arrive at one day if I worked hard enough, if I stayed patient long enough, if I earned it. I believed it would come with peace, certainty, maybe even applause. But the truth is, the dream life isn't a destination, it's a standard. And the moment you understand that, everything changes. It's not something you wait for. It's something you decide to live by, right now. Not when the money comes. Not when people validate you. Not when things feel easy. It starts the moment you stop tolerating the version of life that keeps you small, quiet, and stuck. The moment you stop waiting for a better future and start demanding more from your present. See, most people are sold the illusion of a finish line. They chase success like a lottery ticket, thinking if they grind long enough, suffer enough, sacrifice enough, they'll finally feel worthy. But what if I told you that your dream life isn't earned by struggle? It's activated by standards, by what you accept and what you don't, by how you speak to yourself, by what you allow in your environment, by how you treat your body, your goals, your time. And if your current life doesn't reflect the dream, you don't need more time. You need new standards. So I stopped asking, when will I get there? And started asking, what would someone living their dream tolerate today? Would they waste time with people who drain them? No. Would they keep saying yes to things that don't align? Never. Would they ignore their health, their mind, their peace? Not for a second. That's when I realized it was never about reaching a moment. It was about becoming someone who lives in alignment with what they say they want. And that kind of alignment doesn't show up once a year. It shows up every single day in the decisions you make when no one's watching, in the boundaries you keep when it's uncomfortable, in the way you carry yourself when life tries to pull you back into the old version of you. I started waking up with one question: does today reflect the life I say I want? If it didn't, I didn't wait for the perfect time to fix it. I adjusted immediately. That's the difference between chasing the dream and living it. Living it means you don't flirt with mediocrity anymore. You don't entertain half effort. You don't keep giving people access to your life just because they've been around a long time. You start building a life where your peace is non-negotiable, your discipline is solid, your values are visible in how you live, not just in what you post or preach. And yes, that comes with discomfort, because raising your standards doesn't just change your life. It exposes the people around you who haven't raised theirs. They'll say you've changed, and they're right. You've changed your standards. You've decided that your potential is not up for debate. You've outgrown survival mode, and now you're building from strength, not desperation. You stop chasing quick wins. You stop explaining your growth. You stop apologizing for no longer being the version of yourself they were comfortable with. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your life becomes your proof. The way you show up day in and day out, that becomes your message. The dream life doesn't arrive. It's built brick by brick, boundary by boundary, standard by standard. It's not about achieving more. It's about becoming more. You can't live your dream life with the standards that built your survival life. That means you have to raise the bar, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because comfort will always tempt you to settle, but alignment will demand that you rise. I used to think I had to earn joy. Now I know joy is something you choose when you stop betraying yourself, when you stop over-explaining your worth, when you stop giving energy to people and habits that don't serve your vision. And the truth is, your dream life isn't complicated. It's not about yachts or private jets or fame. It's about freedom, peace, power, being proud of who you are when no one's clapping. That kind of life. It starts the moment you say, I'm no longer tolerating anything beneath the standard of who I know I can be. So no, your dream life isn't out there in the future. It's not waiting to be unlocked by some mentor, by a lucky break, or by outside approval. It's right here. It's in how you talk to yourself. It's in how you carry your pain. It's in how you show up on the days when no one's watching. Raise your standards and the life you've been dreaming about will stop feeling so far away. Because you don't get your dream life when things get easier. You get it when you get stronger. Here's what no one tells you. Transformation isn't a moment. It's a decision you remake every single day. You don't wake up one day magically disciplined, unshakably confident, or perfectly aligned with your purpose. You build that version of yourself brick by brick, choice by choice, boundary by boundary. You want to know how people turn their lives around? They stop negotiating with mediocrity. They stop explaining themselves to people who were never meant to understand. They stop waiting for permission to rise, and they stop listening to the noise that tells them you're too late, you're too far gone, or you'll never make it. That voice in your head, the one still whispering your name through the doubt and fatigue, it's not your imagination, it's your potential pounding on the door, waiting for you to stop playing small and start acting like the future version of you already exists. Because it does. The real shift, it doesn't happen when you finally make it. It happens when you decide to refuse anything less than the life you know you were born to create. You're not here to impress. You're here to become. You're not here to perform. You're here to own. And once you stop accepting crumbs and start demanding the full feast that comes with your purpose, then yes, it's over for everything and everyone that ever tried to dim your light. You didn't come this far to blend in. You came to break cycles, to rewrite legacies, and to build a life so aligned, it doesn't need to be explained. So move different, think higher, speak less, execute more, because your dream life, it starts the second you say, this is who I am now and I'm never going back.